From CBS 4 News, this is Facing South Florida with Jim DeFede.
Good morning, I'm Jim DeFede and welcome to Facing South Florida. This week, the Miami-Dade School Board voted to mandate masks for all students and staff. They are now the fourth school district in the state to defy Governor Ron DeSantis' order forbidding school districts from taking the steps they believe are necessary to keep their students and staff safe. Miami-Dade joins Broward, Alachua, and Hillsborough counties in requiring masks. The one vote against masks on the Miami-Dade School Board was Dr. Luby Navarro, who earlier in the day thought she would be on the winning side and seemed rather upset the school board decided to follow the science.
And I do not waver. I do not waver, and I will never waver under no pressure. You see, my beliefs will never be compromised in a 360 change of a position in an amendment that was just thrown at us right here on the dais. I don't waver that way. I don't waver that way. Those of you that know me, I will be in the fire and I will stand my ground on my position.
Now, to be clear, when I refer to her as Dr. Luby Navarro, she does not have a medical degree or even a doctorate. She refers to herself as Dr. Navarro because in 2019 she was handed an honorary degree from the Catholic University of New Spain, which is located on the 9th floor of an office building in downtown Miami. Now, I know there is a lot of attention on Miami-Dade and Broward, but what happened in Hillsborough County is more revealing. They initially went along with the governor's order and made masks optional when students returned to classes on August 10th. In the days that followed, more than 2,000 students and staff tested positive for COVID, and another 10,000 had to be quarantined. The Hillsborough School Board held an emergency meeting this week where they heard this.
And as the father of 2 Hillsborough County students and a beautiful teacher wife, I beg you to institute a real mask mandate with an opt-out only from a verifiable note from a licensed medical doctor. But most of all, I beg you today, have courage.
The Hillsborough School Board then voted 5-2 to require masks. The governor's response was also revealing. Faced with a growing number of students testing positive or being exposed to the virus, the governor offered this piece of advice.
I think quarantining healthy kids deprives these kids of an ability to get an education. Now, maybe a parent would want a healthy kid to be quarantined if there's an exposure, but I think that should be the choice of the parent.
Medical experts say this underscores the problem with the governor's approach. First, he wants the parents to decide if their child wears a mask. Now he's saying the parents should also decide if their child should go to school after being exposed to COVID. But as the medical experts note, the concern isn't just on what is happening to that child, it's also how that child may impact others around them. Sadly, that sense of caring for each other has been lost as this debate has turned nasty and political. You saw it outside the Miami-Dade School Board meeting when Enrique Tarrio, the head of the Proud Boys, was leading the chants against masks. Later, the anti-mask crowd burst into chants of Trump 2024. Now, with the governor threatening to remove school board members and take away salaries for superintendents who defy him, I spoke to Miami-Dade School Superintendent Alberto Carvalho this week.
I continue to believe that mandatory masking protocol with accommodations for medically endorsed exceptions, as well as accommodations for students who may have an IEP, a 504 accommodation, or an ADA exceptionality, is the appropriate way to proceed because it is the only scientifically informed protocol that's been vetted and approved and recommended by the public health and medical experts that advise their school system. It is also the recommendation of the American Academy of Pediatrics, as well as the Florida Association of Pediatricians. So if we do not accept and embrace that position, what's the alternative?
Well, some would argue the alternative is to follow the law in Florida, and the executive order signed by the governor says you cannot do this. So under what authority do you believe you can violate the law?
Well, we certainly do not believe we are violating the law. We stand shoulder to shoulder, side by side with Broward, Palm Beach, Hillsborough, and Alachua counties, representing the interests of over 1 million students in the state of Florida, whose leadership has basically said that we cannot anymore abdicate our fundamental responsibility under the Constitution to protect the safety and a safe learning environment for our students. Then we can abandon the principles of science that guide our pronouncements regarding this matter. And I truly feel that to a certain extent, this is a manufactured controversy that serves no purpose other than undermining the credibility of medical entities, of expert voices, and create a political dissension around something that's truly not political.
So who manufactured this crisis?
I'm not going to speak to that, but I certainly, having sat through hours of public input at the last board meeting, there were voices that were approaching our board that I commend for their courageous posture on this issue, that spoke about anything but education. They spoke about the fact that vaccines are interfering with our genetic makeup. They spoke about the suspension of freedoms. They lobbed all kinds of accusations and insults having nothing to do with masks, but certainly seeming like political pronouncements, anti-science pronouncements, anti-vaccine pronouncements, alongside anti-masking statements.
Well, what do you think? What do you think the governor's? Yeah, but I want to get to it. But what do you think the governor's motivation here is?
Again, I'm not going to speak to his motivation. I don't know what's in the governor's mind. And I have to say, Jim, that for the entire time that he's been governor, as well as the Commissioner of Education, we've had a terrific working relationship. We have solved a lot of problems together. And I would hate this to be a rift between Tallahassee and the South Florida community, now that Palm Beach, Broward, and Miami-Dade are unified under this common embracing of medical advice.
Well, I mean, you say you would hate to see that there's a rift. I got news for you, Superintendent. There is a rift. I mean, I listened to the emergency hearing that the Board of Education had just last week, in which they ripped and shredded apart the superintendents for both Alachua and Broward counties. It was embarrassing, the tone that they took with those superintendents. That's going to be you in a matter of days, more than likely, where they're going to rip into you. So you think that there's not a rift currently? I'm telling you, there is.
I hope that it's a rift that can result in a bridge reconnecting the state with the South Florida community in a growing number of districts. And it ached me personally to have witnessed the way those superintendents were addressed in a condescending, indicting manner. It was as if they were on trial for doing nothing more, nothing less than protecting the interests of their workforce and their children based on medical advice. And yes, my day may come, but I can assure you of one thing. I certainly will not allow myself to be treated in a way that is humiliating, that is demeaning, that is not respectful. I am not an elected official. I am not running for office. I am tackling these issues based on all the information that's available to me. I don't take insult easily, and nor do I take threat associated with the consequences of my actions easily. And these threats do not influence the decisions we make.
I think one of the most interesting things that happened this week was not necessarily in Dade or Broward, but it was what happened in Hillsborough County. Because initially, when they went back to school, their school board voted for a mask requirement that allowed parents to opt out. In other words, a weaker mask requirement. And within 10 days, they saw more than 10,000 students have to be quarantined and taken out of the classroom. They also saw that I think it was more than 2,000 students and staff ended up actually contracting COVID, to the point where the Hillsborough School Board then reversed course and is now in line with what Dade, Broward, and Alachua is doing, which is requiring a mask mandate without the parental easy opt-out. It's almost as if the governor's plan was put into a test case in Hillsborough County and was shown that that is not the way to handle it in a county that has a huge outbreak of COVID cases. Did you see it the same way?
You're absolutely right. With thousands of students and employees being quarantined, I cannot think of a better way to disrupt the continuity of learning than by abandoning the safety precautions in place and allowing students to have direct contact with infected individuals and being deprived of an in-school education. That happened in Hillsborough. And then I think the other one was in Arkansas, where the governor of Arkansas, Asa Hutchinson, reversed course, not because of pressure, but because he recognized the inflexibility of a mask mandate ban actually hurt children, the continuity of learning, and the workforce that would teach them. I'm just hopeful that armed with real cause and effect, as is the case in Hillsborough and Palm Beach, armed now with legal precedents across the country, that we're able to find a reasonable solution that respects the well-being and the health of our students and our workforce. That's still my hope.
The governor, in response to what was happening in Hillsborough, offered more medical advice, saying that if a student is exposed to the virus, that parent should be the one that decides whether or not that student who has an exposure to COVID should be allowed to attend school, as opposed to being required to quarantine for 10 days or so. What is the policy in Miami-Dade, and what was your reaction when you heard the governor offering that bit of medical advice, saying that students who are exposed to the coronavirus should be allowed to attend school if their parents want them to?
My immediate reaction to what the governor said is, again, one that's rooted in science. Let's be honest. A parent's right to opt not to mask a child, or a parent's right not to abide by a regulation that would isolate the student on the basis of contact with an infected person, is undermined by the greater good. So when a parent says, regardless of the fact that my child had contact, I want him to go to school, that's a parental choice that becomes an imposition on everyone else. And that is not fair. It is not compassionate. That is why in Miami-Dade, we will follow a protocol that protects the greater good. That, yes, to a certain extent respects a parent's choice, as long as that choice does not become an imposition on everyone else. You cannot deprive people of their ability to be in a safe, protected environment because someone chooses not to follow the medical recommendations of experts.
The governor likes to talk about the fact that the infection rate for children is very low, and that the probability or chances that a child may die is no more than 1 or 2%. What's your reaction to that?
This has serious, not only policy implications, but the safety of our kids, the health of our teachers. And for those who say that the statistic probability of a kid contracting, developing COVID, or dying for it is so small, I'll tell you one thing. I've spoken with parents where that statistical probability actually belonged to them. I've spoken with teachers and their relatives who have lost someone in their family to COVID, who have affirmed that that was the statistical probability. So what is our community's threshold for pain? Is it losing 4 kids? After that, it's just too much? Is it 5 kids? It's 2 kids intubated in a pediatric ICU unit? What is it? What have we become? And those are the answers that some people very easily respond with complete abandonment to science and compassion. And I'm just not poised, do not have the Constitution to do that.
When we come back, I talk to the chair of the Broward School Board, Dr. Rosalind Osgood, who, for the record, earned a master's and doctoral degrees in public administration from Nova Southeastern University. Stay with us.